Under the greenwood tree, who loves to lie with me, and turn his merry note unto the sweet bird's throat. Come hither, come hither, come hither. Here shall he see no enemy but winter and rough weather. Well, I have to say, it never occurred to me that I could write songs with Shakespeare as my writing partner, but that's what's happened. After 50 years of not doing theater, I've been in 4 productions in the last a little bit over a year. Right now I'm in a production of As You Like It at Shelby County Community Theater, directed by Clint Gill. This play, As You Like It, has several songs in it, and there's no extant music from Shakespeare's time, so there's a long-standing custom. If you have somebody in the production or who can sing and play and is capable of doing that, sometimes you give them the liberty to write music to go with the lyrics, and Clint invited me to do that, so I've done that for 3 songs, 2 of which I'm going to play today. As You Like It is one of Shakespeare's great comedies. It's a kind of culture clash. Some folks from the courtly people have been sort of expelled and exiled, and actually some of them are being hunted by an evil duke. They're hiding out in the country, and they're encountering shepherds and rustics and people out there that come from completely different value systems, so you have a clash of cultures that makes for some great comedy. I think Shakespeare's Act 3, we divide the play slightly differently than Shakespeare does. We have 2 halves instead of 5 acts. But in his Act 3, I think, line for line, is one of the funniest pieces of theater or literature ever created in the English language. It is really, really funny. We've got a great cast of people in this play. It's everybody, of course, is younger. I can say that both technically and objectively than I am. But it's a very enthusiastic, it's a blast to play with these people. This particular song happens, I'm a courtier who's associated with one of the dukes who's been exiled. So I'm in the countryside, and we have left behind courtly things. We've left behind our normal ambitions. We've left behind the trappings of wealth and that kind of thing. We're living in the countryside. And my character, Amiens, has embraced that idea and is expressing that in this song, which happens in Shakespeare's Act 2. I'm on stage with a character named Jaques, who is a witty, melancholy philosopher, famous literary character who has speeches like "All the World's a Stage," which people generally know about. It's played in this production by Lethia Nall, who is an amazing actress and one of these people that when you're on stage with her, you have to be constantly on the alert because she is living in the moment. And if you're not responding in the moment, you're going to get lost and confused. But it's just been a great experience. Everybody in this play, it's been really fun. So anyway, that first verse is talking about living under the greenwood tree, living in this rustic life, comparing it to the court, talking about how it's a good place to be, and inviting other people who share the same values, these kind of Renaissance hippie values, I guess, to come join us in the court. After I sing the first verse, Jaques says to me, I stop, and she says, sing another verse. I don't particularly want to, but she insists. So I sing this verse. Who doth ambition shun, and loves to lie i' the sun, seeking the food he eats, and pleased with what he gets. Come hither, come hither, come hither. Here shall he see no enemy but winter and rough weather. Naturally, over the hundreds of years since this play first premiered, a lot of people have set these texts. There are classical compositions, there are folk compositions, there are contemporary and ancient. Thomas Arne set this song in the 18th century. Donovan set it, I think, in the 60s, created music for it. You can find those kinds of things on YouTube. If you go looking, you'll find a lot of different versions of this. When Kentucky Shakespeare did As You Like It, that was either last year or the year before, maybe the year before, they commissioned Aaron Bibelhauser to write the music. That production was set in Kentucky in the 19th century, kind of a vaguely 19th century. I don't know whether it was antebellum or later in the century, but it was a very fun production, and they wanted a certain kind of Americana feel for the songs. I listened to a lot of different settings and then decided that I would do my own because, generally speaking, I liked a lot of them, but I didn't necessarily agree with all of them in terms of the way they had approached the songs. What I wanted to do was follow, I took a Shakespeare class at Shelby County, Shakespeare acting class, and one of the things you learn in that class is that Shakespeare gave advice to his actors in the play Hamlet. He says, "Speak the speech, I pray you, trippingly, as I have written it, trippingly on the tongue." And so I didn't want a lot of vocal things. I wanted every syllable to have a note. I wanted it to be really word focused. I wanted it to be concentrated on the dramatic situation at the time, what the narrative is doing, so the message comes through. Now, the interesting, for a composer, a writer of songs, the interesting problem in this song happens to be that refrain, "Come hither, come hither, come hither." That's not iambic pentameter. It's not a normal song rhythm. It's called amphibrachic trimeter. You can look it up. That's what I had to do because I didn't know what it was. And it is, so it's like a bum, 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 bum. So unaccented, accented, unaccented, unaccented, accented, unaccented. And that doesn't occur in English literature in very many contexts. The only place where you regularly see it is comic poetry, limericks, that kind of thing. So there was a young girl from Nantucket. The only case I can think of, if you look this up on Wikipedia, you'll find this out. That's the only way I know it. It's not that I knew this. I knew the song, but I didn't realize what the rhythm was. Leonard Cohen used amphibrachic trimeter in a song called "Famous Blue Raincoat." It's 4 in the morning, the end of December. I'm writing you now just to see if you're better. New York is cold, but I like where I'm living. There's music on Clinton Street all through the evening. So you kind of get a sense that Leonard Cohen, who comes out of a French language and was well versed in Spanish as well as in English, was kind of aware of that. That rhythm, it doesn't occur in English literature very often, but it's kind of a fundamental rhythm in Greek and Latin literature. It's a classical meter that comes from that period of time when the nature of prosody was quite different. And after I sing the second verse, Jaques says to me that she has written a verse that she wants me to sing to this same melody, and I say, okay, I'll sing it. And I do in fact sing it. It has a nonsense word in it. That nonsense word is duc dame, and it seems like a nonsense word. To me, it's a nonsense word in the play. I've never heard that. The other people on the stage have never heard the word duc dame. We don't know what it means. At the end of the song, I ask her what it means, and she says that it's a Greek invocation for, I'm not going to tell you what the for is. If you want to find out what the punchline of that joke is, you need to come to the play or talk to me later, and I'll explain it. But the Greek invocation thing, to me, is interesting, because Shakespeare would have known that, he would have known those classic meters. Clearly, he was versed in that kind of, nice pun. He was versed in classic meter. He certainly understood that stuff. So it's just interesting to me that he uses a Greek metric in this song for the chorus, and then makes it kind of a joke that involves a Greek invocation at the same time. That might have been an insider joke between him and his writing friends and his acting friends, but it certainly doesn't seem accidental to me. It seems intentional. Anyway, so Jaques is more cynical about our journey into the forest. She's not that happy about it, and she thinks there's something foolish about it. So her verse runs a little counter to mine. If it should come to pass that any man turneth, leaving his wealth and ease, a stubborn will to please, duc dame, duc dame, duc dame. Here shall he see gross fools as he, and if he will come to me. So that's Jaques' take on this issue. We're gross fools that have come into the countryside. Now, the second song that I'm going to do, and put back to, that was in the, I didn't change keys. A little high for me, but I guess it sounds okay there. Back to C minor. So the other song is Blow, Blow Thou Winter Wind. And that song is sort of, in some ways, part of the intellectual and ethical crux of the matter. It's a celebration, a contrast between what you might call the cruelty or the harshness of nature and nature's kind of implacable force and the inconvenience of being out in the woods in bad weather and snow and ice and cold and things like that, versus humankind's inhumanity to other humans. So in this song, I think what you get is Shakespeare saying that nature, no matter what its forces are, whether they're good or bad for us or whether we like them or not, is at least neutral and indifferent. It's not hypocritical, and it's not being mean. It's just being nature, as opposed to the acts of people in power who do things to us or who treat us badly. So it's a wonderful song. It takes place at a kind of, I think, the emotional and the ethical epicenter of the play. One of the groups of people who've been exiled is not doing as well as another group. There are a couple of people who are hungry, don't have resources, and are doing badly, and they're so desperate that that one of them attacks our camp, wanting things, and our Duke, played by Sam Bottoms, Duke Senior, Sam is a great actor, generously says, "Well, we're happy to help you. We've all been in this place." Duke Senior is a really interesting part, and all the parts in this play are interesting. We have a great touchstone. He's the comic. We have wonderful. There's a gender-bending aspect of this play. Some of the people who have escaped into the forest are women who have dressed as men because they don't feel safe as women in the forest. So they dress as men and they encounter men, and through an extraordinarily, exquisitely funny comic device, Shakespeare manipulates things so that a male, a cis male, and a disguised male start interacting with one another in a way that leads to a romance that is sort of gender bending. And that is kind of a fundamental part of the comedy. If you know Shakespeare, you know there are a lot of places where he does these kinds of, uses mistaken identities to create these comic scenarios, or sometimes serious scenarios. Anyway, this is Blow, Blow Thou Winter Wind. Blow, blow thou winter wind, thou art not so unkind as man's ingratitude. Thy tooth is not so keen, because thou art not seen, although thy breath be rude. Hey-ho, sing hey-ho, unto the green holly. Most friendship is feigning, most loving mere folly. Then hey-ho, the holly. This life is most jolly. Freeze, freeze, thou bitter sky, that doth not bite so nigh as benefits forgot. Though thou the waters warp, thy sting is not so sharp as friend remembered not. Hey-ho, sing hey-ho, unto the green holly. Most friendship is feigning, most loving mere folly. Then hey-ho, the holly. This life is most jolly. Well, there's another song at the end. It's an a cappella tune, which I also was able to compose, and and Clint turned it into a round at the end, so we created this kind of a bright thing that sort of helps close the play out. It's a play with multiple happy endings. Everything happens for the good in this particular play. Even the evil Duke is redeemed by the time you get to the end, I think. It's a fun play. We open tonight, actually. This is Friday. We're going to play Friday and Saturday night. We have a Sunday matinee. We'll play Friday and Saturday and Sunday matinee next weekend as well. I think if you decide you want to come out, it's worth a drive out there to Shelby County. It's a nice, intimate theater. It's a great cast. It's a superb play. It's a fun, easy, kind of Shakespeare. It's just a blast to watch this group of people doing these parts. And if you do come, our custom at Shelby County Community Theater is to wait. It's for the performers, after the performance, to come back out on the stage and greet people. So if you do happen to come, stick around for a minute and say hello to me. If you want to. You may not want to. That's okay too. All right. Anyway, thanks for listening.